Hey, good morning. How are you? It's Craig back here from StopDrinkingExpert.com, live on YouTube and on Facebook. And you can ask any questions you want. You don't need to wait until the end for any questions. I can see your comments. So if you've got any concerns about quitting drinking or dry January, now that we're on the last day, are you wondering whether you should carry on or is it okay to go back and drink in moderation? So anything that's concerning you, if you've stopped drinking and you've hit an obstacle or something, then I'll do my best to help you today. But the reason for the broadcast is to talk about the shame and guilt of problem drinking, because I think this is a huge societal problem and nobody talks about it. Being an alcoholic or being a problem drinker is really the only drug that comes with this kind of mass shame attached to it. You know, I talk about, when I do my boot camp, I always talk about that this is a very weird drug. And it's not weird because it's, complicated or complex. There's nothing smart or intelligent about it. I mean, basically, alcohol is the waste byproduct that leaks out of, vegetable matter when you let it rot. This is not a NASA-designed smart chemical. There's nothing clever about it. What I mean by it's a weird drug is that our perception of it and the way we talk about it and accept it in society is weird. Because if you think about it, alcohol is the only drug that when you get into difficulty with it, everyone blames you and not the drug. And there's no other substance on planet Earth where that happens. And it's weird that nobody ever talks about this. It's like, you tell someone that you're addicted to cigarettes. They don't think, oh, you dirty smokeaholic. There's something wrong with you. Everyone knows that cigarettes are highly addictive because they're a carrier mechanism for the drug nicotine, and nicotine is extremely addictive. And therefore, if you smoke cigarettes, you will eventually get addicted. That's the logical conclusion of your actions. And it's the same with heroin. You confess to someone, oh, look, I'm addicted to heroin. They don't go, oh, well, you're a terrible, awful person. They think, oh my God, this evil, horrible drug has got into your life. You poor person, you must get off it because it'll destroy your life. But you go up to people and say, I'm an alcoholic, and watch their face. Their face drops. They're like, they don't know how to talk to you. They want to leave. And you'll see them leave and go and tell everyone else, oh, have you heard about Craig? He's got a problem with alcohol. Oh, like it's a shameful, embarrassing thing to admit that you can't drink a highly addictive substance over and over again and not get addicted. For me, getting addicted to alcohol is the entirely logical conclusion of your actions. And so I'm making this video today. I'm going to put a blog post up on the website because I want to spread the word that we need to end this shame. There is nothing wrong with you if you have a problem with alcohol. Nothing. Now, you may have done things that you're not proud of. You may be ashamed of your behavior. You may have lied to people who love you. You may have let down your family, but that is not because of something inside you that is broken. It is because of the drug. It is because of alcohol, and it's very effective at what it does. Alcohol kills 3 million people every year. That's not my number. That's a number worked out by the World Health Organization. 3 million people every year. Now, are you telling me that all of those people that died were terrible, horrible, broken people? Or they were all stupid? It's not true, is it? alcohol doesn't just kill stupid people, doesn't just kill poor people, doesn't just kill people of a certain race or gender. It kills everyone who gets involved with it, who loses control of it. And so that's the message I wanted to get out there today. Matt says it's the only drug you have to apologize for not taking. So true, Matt. Isn't that true? And, you know, in my book, I talk about taking a flight from Manchester to Cyprus one day. And it just so happened on this flight, the head stewardess was a very good friend of mine. In fact, I'd photographed her wedding when I was working as a wedding photographer. And when she saw me, she kind of bumped me up to first class and she said, "Don't worry, I'm going to look after you." It was only like, you know, a holiday flight. It wasn't, you know, first class wasn't a bed or anything. It was just nearer the front of the aircraft. But instead of having to pay for drinks, she said, "Don't worry, I'm going to look after you." And she came down the aisle with the trolley and she passed me like 5 or 6 of those little miniature bottles of whiskey. She went, "Here, take these." And I said, no. I said, "I'll have an orange juice though, if that's okay." She went, no, they're free. No, I said, "No, I'll have a coffee then." And she looked at me like I was some sort of freak. I mean, how can you turn down free alcohol? And so, yeah, Matt, you're right. It's the only drug you have to apologize for not taking. Fee is a legend. Fee is how long have you been sober now? Fee is 3 years, 6 months sober because of this program. Forever grateful. And I met up with Fee. Was it Nashville, Fee? I think it was Nashville, wasn't it? It's always good to meet people who have done the course and have completely changed their lives. And there are so many people now I know around the world because they've taken this poison out of their life and embraced change and done something dramatically different. And that's fantastic. So listen, if you're watching this and you are worried about your drinking, but you are nervous about taking action because you don't want the stigma, then know that when you do get started, you will discover that the world is actually a very different place than it looks currently from within the alcohol bubble. You know, when I was drinking, I just thought everyone drinks. If I stop drinking, I'm going to be a freak. I'm going to be a weirdo. I'm going to be antisocial. I'm not going to be able to go out because everyone drinks alcohol. And what I discovered is when I stopped, I found sober people everywhere. You know, taxi drivers would say, "Oh yeah, I've been sober for 10 years. It was like suddenly the whole world changed to be like 50% sober. And so that's either everyone just got clean overnight, which is unlikely, or actually our perception while we're drinking is polluted by the marketing and by the illusion of social proof. You know, social media and that tells the story that you have to have champagne when you celebrate, you have to have whiskey, you have to have this, and so on and so on. Now, when I first started to question my drinking, I was a company director. I was running two companies worth millions of pounds each, and I was the patron of a children's charity. And nobody knew I had a problem because I was entirely functioning. You know, I was a man that they said who, you know, could handle his beer. They thought I was a bit of a party animal. That's about it. But, you know, I was never calling in sick at work. I was not getting DUIs. I was not getting arrested. I had a nice home, nice family, a wife, children, nice car on the drive. And so nobody really knew how miserable my drinking was making me. And so I had a reputation that I didn't particularly want to lose. So when I first started to worry about this, I went to the doctor. He was useless. I told my doctor, I finally plucked up the courage to tell my doctor how much I was drinking because I'd lied to him for all my life to that point. You know, stupid lies like saying, "Oh, I only drink 3 or 4 glasses of wine a night." You know, not telling him that my glasses were so big that 3 glasses was a whole bottle. And when I finally told my doctor the truth, I was expecting him to, you know, rush me off to rehab or something. And he just looked at me and went, "Oh, you're drinking less than me. You're all right. Don't worry about it. Maybe just try and drink less." Genius. Like I hadn't thought of that. And so the next step, the only thing I could think of was AA. So I went to AA, and of course AA say to you, you're an alcoholic and you always will be. Here's your label, put that on your forehead. You're a pathetic, weak-willed alcoholic and you'll never be cured. Even if you stop drinking, you'll be a recovering alcoholic. You can never get rid of that label. And I hated that. I thought, you know, here I am, I've managed to do well in my career. Some company has trusted me to put me in charge of their multi-million-pound businesses. I've got a wife and a nice house and 2 children, and yet I can demonstrate and point to success. And yet here is an organization that says you are broken and you always will be. And I thought, God, how depressing is that? So I've got to spend the rest of my life feeling ashamed that there's something wrong with me. And it's just one of the reasons why AA didn't work for me. And I pretty much didn't go back. Marion Bovey. Hi, Marion. Watching on YouTube, almost 5 months sober. Nice. I have dreams of me giving in. When I watch a movie of people celebrating, I think sometimes I can have a drink while having a meal outside of the house. Yeah. Marion, you're in a very good place, but let me do you a huge favor. And I want you to try and remember this point, because I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And I know from experience that there is a kind of, there's a period where sober people go through this rose-tinted glasses introspective look back of their life. And it's normally around the 10-month to 14-month period. So you're kind of halfway there, right? But I can't tell you how many times people have told me, I was 1 year sober and I thought I could just have 1 drink at a barbecue. Or I was 1 year sober, I went to a wedding and they said, here's some champagne to toast the bride and groom. And I thought, well, it probably won't hurt and I'll look a bit stupid if I don't do it. There is this period, it's almost a year. And I think it's the point where when you look back at your drinking, it becomes so far in the distance and so far in the past that you look back with those rose-tinted glasses and you can't really feel how miserable it was making you anymore. You know it was bad because that's why you stopped drinking, but you can't feel it anymore. And so you tend to look back like going, yeah, it was bad, but, and the clown that lives in your head, the evil clown of alcoholism, jumps up at this point and uses it as an excuse. And he'll say something to you like, you know, come on, maybe you can have a drink every now and again on a social occasion or at a wedding, or if you go to a funeral and they're passing around the whiskey at the wake, it'd be rude not to just have one to, you know, celebrate and commiserate the death of whoever's died. And in my experience, that 1 drink leads to 3, 4, 5, 6 months of misery. Because what happens is normally you drink it and it doesn't taste very nice. Because you've been 1 year sober, you're now not so anesthetized to how horrible alcohol tastes. So if somebody gives you a glass of champagne and you're all excited and you drink it and it tastes disgusting, and that's you're quite pleased. You're like, oh my God, maybe I can just have the odd drink to be polite now because I don't even like the taste of it. It's an illusion. And you will very quickly fall back into the cycle at the point where you left it. You don't just go back into slowly drinking, you know, a couple of glasses of wine a week. You go right back in to the height of your drinking really quickly. I mean, within a couple of weeks, you will be back in at the deepest point. And then you have a big problem because you'll think to yourself, well, I stopped with Craig's help. I'll go back and I'll do the course again. I'll log in, I'll find my password, I'll log in, I'll do the course again. But the problem is you've lost faith. You haven't got that wide-eyed excitement and enthusiasm and optimism that you've discovered something amazing that's going to lead you out of the trap of alcohol, because you've failed, you've fallen down. And so now when you start it again, it's kind of 20% less effective. So you've got to find some new ammunition to bolster your approach this time around. So I'm telling you, Marion, when you get to 1 year, or if you're feeling it now, if you're thinking I can just have 1 drink, remember the 5 most dangerous words that anyone can ever say. Just 1 drink won't hurt. It will be the last thing you hear in your head before something very bad happens. Okay? Going to be live for a couple of more minutes, guys. If you have any questions at all, any concerns, any worries, need any advice about quitting drinking or living a sober life, post them up now and I'll do my best to answer them. The main point of this video was just to get the message out there that don't be ashamed if you're drinking too much and you can't stop. It's not your fault. This is a very powerful drug. It knows exactly what it's doing. The stigma that is around this drug is other people's problems. It's not you, it's the drug. That's all I want to say to you. And don't beat yourself up because it doesn't help. Hi, Gwyn. 3 months sober, feeling good. Nice. Well done, Gwyn. Mistaken mystery. I'm an opiate addict, but it's the same thing. True. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's why it's so weird that this is the only drug where when you get a problem with it, they blame you. All drugs work the same way. They create a dependency and they motivate you to continue using the drug by using carrot and stick. So all drugs make you feel bad with the promise of making you feel good if you use the drug. It's just that they're on differing levels of strength. So with alcohol, the kick from alcohol is quite mild, actually. It's that jittery sensation, you know, that on-edge sensation where you just feel a bit anxious and you vocalize it by saying, oh, I could do with a drink. That, oh, I'm just a bit on edge. That is the kick from alcohol. And we often mistake it for anxiety or depression or, you know, many other things. And then when you drink the alcohol, the drug takes away that uncomfortable sensation and rewards you. But it doesn't last, you know, it lasts like 20 minutes. And it's the same with opiates, you know, opioids work the same way, same with heroin, except that the kick from heroin is very, very painful. You know, you go cold turkey on heroin and you're going to know about it. It's going to give you a massive amount of pain, but all the time with the promise that you can stop the pain at any moment by taking some heroin. That's why it's so difficult to get off heroin. And actually, you know, the good news here is if you're on alcohol, alcohol's really easy to get off if you understand what's really going on, I think. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't problems underneath the alcohol that need dealing with, because 90% of the time there are. But at least you can remove the substance to give yourself the space to correct the problem underneath. Let's see what else we got. Got any questions here? Astro, drink 3 beers a day, no problem. You may be on the wrong channel, Astro. Yeah, but everyone started out like that, didn't they? You know, people don't go from 0 to 100 overnight. That's the thing with alcohol. Everyone started out having an occasional beer or having an occasional glass of wine, and then suddenly became more occasional. And then before you know it, you're in a loop. And so, you know, people often ask me, how do you know you're going to have a problem? Not everyone who drinks alcohol gets addicted, do they? And that's true. You know, some people can have a social drink every now and again, and they never think about it. So how do you know you're going to be one of the people who gets into trouble with it? And the answer is, you don't. It's a gamble. It's Russian roulette. You could pull the trigger and you could get away with it, or there could be a bullet there. You don't know. So actually, the only way to be 100% sure that you're not one of the people who becomes an alcoholic or becomes a problem drinker is to not drink in the first place. So, Astro, the risk does not begin when you start drinking vast quantities or you start drinking on a routine basis. The risk begins when you start drinking. Where it goes from there, nobody knows. That's why alcohol's like quicksand. You know, in an area where there's quicksand, they don't put the warning sign in the middle of the quicksand, because all that would happen is you'd walk into the middle and go, oh shit, I'm dead. Unfortunately, with alcohol, everyone assumes that the warning sign is in the middle. And by then you're kind of already sucked in. You don't get sleep, wake up anxious. It's true. Drinking makes you sleep worse. Yeah, it absolutely does. And you can prove it to you. You can prove it to yourself. If you've got an Apple Watch, if you've got a smartwatch or a Fitbit or anything that tracks your sleep, If you're still drinking, wear it one night when you've had a drink and have a look at the results, and then wear it another night when you didn't drink anything at all. I bet you had better quality sleep. You will have deep state REM sleep when you were sober, and sometimes often no REM sleep when you've had alcohol in your system. It's not proper sleep. It's almost just like you're unconscious, which makes sense because we know that this is a mild anesthetic. Kevin, is it Kevin or Seven? How do you stay sober during lockdown? It kind of depends where you are in the journey, but it's almost like you can take lockdown out of that sentence. How do you stay sober? Well, you fall in love with being sober and you understand how this drug works so that you become a master of how this drug is tricking people into a deception, because there are no benefits to alcohol. That's the starting premise, right? So the only reason you would drink alcohol during lockdown is because you believe incorrectly that there is a benefit to it. What could those beliefs be? Well, you could say it helps you with depression. It could helps you with loneliness, helps you with anxiety, helps you with pain management. Some people believe that it kills viruses and it kills bacteria. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it does, but not. you can't put the two together. It doesn't connect. You know, some people think that if you drink vodka, then you can't get any sort of bacteria or viruses in your stomach because you've got vodka in it. But your stomach's full of acid anyway. Nothing can survive in there anyway. So it's an irrelevance, really. So in lockdown, the thing you got to do is, first of all, you got to reprogram your brain so you don't believe these erroneous beliefs anymore. And that's what my course does. It dissects our reasons for drinking and shines a light on it. But I get what you're saying. It's more difficult in lockdown because you're not going to work. You've got more time on your hands. And the answer is distraction. Be productive. Fill your diary. I always say to people, when you quit drinking, do not spend the rest of the month or the next 3 weeks on an evening sitting on your sofa on your own, because you're going to be bored, you're going to be lonely, and the clown's going to try and tempt you to drink. So have stuff in your diary. Now, that doesn't mean you have to go out, but do stuff with the kids. Make sure you're talking to your friends. Catch up with your parents if you've not spoken to them for a while. Start learning something. Learn a language. Learn something new. Take on a course. Do something productive. Start writing. Start painting. Start doing all the stuff that you used to do before alcohol took over your life. But keep yourself busy and know that this is temporary. Lockdown will end. Just got to battle it out. Let's have a look. Who else we got here? Hi, Damien Lopez. Watched your videos for months now. Thank you, Damien. Thank you for your support. If you are new to this channel, if you're just watching this, please do like and subscribe and click the bell notifications so you get all my updates. Damien says, you help, but I need to exit the toxic environment in which I'm steeped in. Like a tea bag, I'm steeped in toxicity. So true. And, you know, so many people are drinking because of another problem in their life. You know, the drinking is a symptom of the problem rather than being the problem itself. And, you know, I talk about this often, that when I stopped drinking, my marriage ended. And sometimes people say to me, well, that's a negative then. If you'd carried on drinking, your marriage wouldn't have failed. And that's true, probably. If I hadn't stopped drinking, I'd probably still be married. But we both would have been miserable because the marriage was broken. You know, we were in separate bedrooms for 3 years. We never did anything together. The only thing we did together was drink together in the same house. And we were both miserable. It's just, we never dealt with it because every night we would drink anesthetic. And I was in bed by 8:30. So, you know, I know what you're saying, Damien. You're saying, I need to get out of this toxic environment so I can stop drinking. Well, actually, that's the wrong way round. You got to stop drinking so you can get out of that toxic environment. Because at the moment, your options are limited because you're running on like 70% of your brain power. When you stop drinking poison for fun, you get creative. You start seeing options and opportunities that weren't there before. Well, they were, but you just couldn't see them because you didn't have the brain power because you had poison in your head. So I encourage you to get the poison out of your life, and then you can deal with the other problems. It's very, very hard to do it the other way around. Yeah, thank you, Damien. I appreciate that. In the USA. Douglas, 30 days off the demon drink, feeling good. Wasn't an alcoholic though, but so much better without it. Yeah, Douglas, you don't need the label, do you? And actually, the problem, I hate to be critical of AA all the time, but the problem with AA is it wasn't designed for problem drinkers. I wasn't an alcoholic, because what's the difference between an alcoholic and a problem drinker? Well, a problem drinker is psychologically addicted. They're using alcohol to deal with pain, trauma, depression, anxiety, some other problem. An alcoholic is physically addicted to the drug, as in their body has become accustomed to it being there. So if you remove it, they'll get very severe physical side effects. I could go weeks, I could go months without a drink if I wanted to. And sometimes I would challenge myself to do that, And I didn't get any sort of physical response to that. So I wasn't an alcoholic, I was a problem drinker. But the problem with AA is there's no shades of gray. You go there and they say, you're an alcoholic. Now you can try arguing that you're not. You could say, well, I'm not, I'm a problem drinker. And you'll just get told you're in denial. Accept the label or get out. And that's a huge problem. I don't want the label. I don't believe in the label. And it's almost like there's no flexibility. So I get what you're saying. Plus bonus, after 28 days alcohol-free, I felt terrible. Feeling of total lethargy. I've been running and bike riding, not missing the drink. So much as wondering what's the point of existence. Now you've gone deep now, haven't you? Listen, some people do. I coached a guy a couple of years ago, and it was like 6 weeks after he finished drinking, and he was furious with me. He said, Craig, I'm sick of this. He said, I've got no energy. I don't sleep at night. I feel terrible. You told me that when I stopped drinking, I'd feel better. And it's true, but you've got to be patient, because you didn't develop a problem with alcohol overnight. You probably spent 20 years doing it, or 10 years, something like that. Your body got used to it. And your body will adapt to the new environment, but not overnight. It's like, if you move from one city to another and the new cities are 5 degrees colder all the time, eventually you will acclimatize to that new environment, but not immediately. For a few months, you're going to be going around with a jumper on going, oh my God, it's cold here. But eventually you'll get used to it. It's like, exactly like I live in a Mediterranean country. My parents live in England, and sometimes they'll ring me and I've got a jumper and a hat on, and they'll go, well, what's the problem? And I'll say, it's freezing here. It's 15 degrees and it's minus 10 there. They think I'm crazy. Let's see what else we got. By the way, I'm happy just to answer questions as long as you need me to, guys, but so fire them up. Tim, I think I was an alcoholic over 20 years of drinking every day, up to 3 bottles of wine a day, then started drinking vodka in the mornings. Best thing about getting rid of this poison is no more lies. Isn't that the truth? You lie to everyone. You lie about your availability. People ask you to come to something fun. You say, oh, I can't because I've got to work. You say that because you want to drink. You lie to your doctor when he asks you how much you drink. You lie to your wife. You lie to your husband. It turns us all into liars. But just going back to the point of this video, that's got nothing to do with your character or personality. And we need to dump this shame and guilt and stigma attached to being a problem drinker. Because just because you lied when you were a drinker doesn't mean you're a liar. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means that this drug is very good at what it does. And it's powerful. It's clever. Thank you, Tim. Automan Dan, 3 bottles of wine a day at the moment. Apart from anything else, Dan, it's expensive, isn't it? I used to be 2 bottles of wine. talk about lying. It was never 2 bottles of wine a day. It was always, I would always drink the first bottle really quickly and then work my way through the second bottle. And the last inch in the second bottle, I would tip down the sink. And I did that so I could lie to my wife and be true to myself. So when my wife said to me, "Did you drink 2 bottles of wine again?" I'd say, no. I drank one and I started on the second one, but I didn't finish it. Lying with plausible deniability. Just lying to myself, basically. Stupid. But Dan, if you're drinking 3 bottles of wine a day, it's time to take action, my friend. It's, it's only going to get worse. And in 5 years' time, it's going to be 4 bottles of wine a day. And in 10 years' time, there won't be a 10 years' time. So it's possible to get it out of your life. It's not as bad as you think. And trust me, everything gets better. Everything gets better when you get this poison out of your life. There's nothing that gets worse. Some things get different, and some people will have to leave your life. That can be challenging. But when you work through all this, when you get the people out of your life that actually are not helping you, they're just toxic, and you change the way you live, then things get very beautiful. I'm on the cheap Woolies wine. Yeah. You see, I used to drink expensive stuff, but not because I'm trying to show off or anything. I used to drink expensive stuff so I could lie to myself again. I would buy the posh stuff so I could then say, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a connoisseur. Oh yeah, I'm an expert. I even had a tasting journal. What a tosser, huh? I would drink the wine and they go, yes, hints of plum. It's all bullshit. Bullshit to cover up a drinking problem. Okay, Kevin, how do you respond to people who try and crack your sober streak in an event and they insist that you have a drink? Good question, Kevin. I think there's I talk about this at boot camp. There are 2 ways to deal with people. First way is for people who love you, like your parents, like your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband. Sometimes they will try and get you drinking again, not because they want you to fail, but because in their head, drinking alcohol is a benefit. It's one of life's good things. It's a benefit. So when they see you depriving yourself of this benefit, they want you to have it. And so they say things like, "Oh, it's Christmas. Can't you just have, 1 glass of champagne?" It's not that they want to trip you up. They just want you to have all the things that they assume are good. Yeah. So the way you deal with friends and family and people who love you is it's an honest conversation. It's a sit down conversation where you just tell them where you've been and how miserable this drug has made you. And you don't pull any punches. You say, "Look, honestly, I've been so unhappy, so desperately unhappy because of this drug, and I don't want to use it anymore at all." And then you actively ask them to help you do it. You don't just tell them and leave them with it. You get them to engage in the process, and you say to them, "Will you help me with that?" And don't end the conversation until they agree to help you with it. So you get their buy-in. Now, your buddies, your drinking buddies, who call you names and insult you because you've ordered a Coke and not a beer, that's different. Drinkers like safety in numbers because drinking diluted poison is bad for you. And there's no way you can avoid that. There's no way you can, even if you buy that nonsense that red wine is good for your heart, you still can't get away from that nagging doubt at the back of your head that drinking diluted poison is bad for you. And so you've got to distract yourself from the truth. And drinkers do that subconsciously. They're not conscious of it. They're building social proof. They're building evidence around them to demonstrate that what they're doing is normal. And so drinkers like safety in numbers. Now, the problem is when one of the people who are providing safety in numbers breaks the unwritten rule and stops drinking, it causes the drinker psychological pain. Suddenly they don't feel so comfortable about what they're doing. Now, they don't consciously recognize this. They don't go, "Oh, it's caused me psychological pain." They just know they don't feel right and they see you as the fly in the ointment. And so they have two choices. They can raise their standards to your new high level, or they can pull you back down to their low level. And it's much easier for them to pull you back down than to lift themselves up. So the way you deal with these people is you understand what's going on. The problem is we're too polite. We laugh it off and go, oh, I'll have a drink in a minute, or I'm just having a couple of days off it, or I'm on antibiotics, I can't. We make some excuse to make them feel better. The only problem is you're kind of giving them a license to keep trying, and they will keep trying. In my experience, you draw a line in the sand, and you may have to have a little uncomfortable moment, and you say, I don't want to drink. And if they push you again, you say, I do not want to drink. Don't ask me again, or I'm going to get offended. And they'll be like, ooh, what's wrong with you? But when you're that clear with them, when you make it obvious that they have crossed a line, they very quickly back off. And you just need to change the substance to understand why what they're doing is wrong and why you have every right to be offended. Imagine if you just got off heroin and you go out with your friends and they say, oh, come on, can't you just have a little bit of heroin? Don't be antisocial, have a little bit of heroin. You'd be furious, wouldn't you? Having been through all that pain and misery, you'd be absolutely furious that these people are trying to get you back on heroin, and you'd be livid. And just because alcohol is socially acceptable, we don't react the way we should. So draw a line in the sand and you say, I don't want to drink, don't ask me again. And like I say, some people will leave your life, but that's okay, because they were only there because they liked the same drug as you. They weren't really friends. Cleric, I could do with some heroin right now. Okay. Again, you may be on the wrong channel. Let's see what else we've got. We're going to wrap up in a minute, but let's see if I've missed anything. Mike B. I owe Craig Beck so very much. Thank you, Craig. My life is so much better since I found you. Thank you a million times. Thank you, Mike. Glad to have you out there as another vocal advocate of living a sober life. This is an interesting one. Eric the Red. Craig, what did you use to replace your evening drinking ritual? I know that wine was your drink of choice. I don't think I've replaced it with anything. It's a really good question, because I'm trying to think of something that's there now that wasn't there, when I was drinking. That the picture looks the same. I sit with my wife and we watch TV for a little bit. We eat our meal, and I have a sparkling water or a Diet Coke normally. I can't. There's nothing. I didn't replace it with anything. So sometimes I get bored of water. That's all I can say. And I get really bored because I drink water all the time. And sometimes I just think, water is just so boring sometimes. And then I might go out and I'll try and find some sort of like designer tonic water, like these Fever Tree ones or something like that. But it's, it's like a couple of times a year that I have a little strop like a child, because I can't have anything tasty to drink. And I don't like sweet drinks. So that's the kind of thing. So look, Robert Woods, I can see clearly now the ale is gone. I like it. Bristow, wish me luck. Good luck. Don't rely on luck. Rely on knowledge. Get the right tools to do the job, yeah? Don't go cold turkey and just tough it out, because it's just miserable. Make it easy. Read books. If your budget isn't that big and you can't do the course, get some good books. You can get mine. You can get it free. In fact, if you do the webinar today, Annie Grace, William Porter, Jason Vale, all great books. Add them to your bedtime reading. Kombucha or kombucha is a good beverage. It is, but it's got alcohol in it. I know what you mean. It's like it's a fermented drink, isn't it? And it's quite bitter. But it's got something like, it depends on the brand. Some of them have got 0.5, some have got 1, some have got like 1.52% alcohol. So you have to be careful it's not a trigger. And Monique Howard, been alcohol free for a month. Hasn't been that difficult, especially because we're currently in lockdown. The advice came at the right time for me. As soon as lockdown lifts, I know people are going to ask me to come over for a drink. Yeah. But you don't need alcohol to have a good time. And I can prove it to you. Go to a kid's party. They're not pissed. They're having a great time. Go to a McDonald's soft play center at a 5-year-old's birthday party. You will see a dozen human beings having the most amazing time ever and not a single drop of alcohol. In fact, if you gave them alcohol, it would make the whole situation very bad very quickly. Be a mess, wouldn't it? Okay. One last question and then we're going to wrap up, guys. Thank you very much for being here today with me. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get my updates. Knopfler Instruments here says, how do you take your sparkling water? Ice cold with fresh lime. Yeah, ice cold, but I'm too lazy to do the lime. But it's a good little touch. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much. I'll try and do another live session very soon. And if you have any questions, whiz them over on an email, craig@craigbeck.com. And also, if you want to know more about the course and how it works, you can sign up for the free webinar, which is happening today. Go to the website, stopdrinkingexpert.com. Thanks a lot. See